How to be your authentic self at work. This can feel a little scary. For many people out there, they have their personal persona and then they have their work persona. In fact, there was just recently an article in the New York Times that said, "Don't bring your whole self to work." The argument was, if you bring your whole self to work, then what you're doing is you're divulging your secrets, you're oversharing at work, and that's not really appropriate. Instead, the article said, you should just bring your worky parts. But the reality is you shouldn't listen to that article. When you are your whole self at work, your authentic self, it really doesn't have anything to do with sharing secrets or oversharing. It has to do with the way that you show up and how you can honor what's true for you, even in your professional relationships. When someone is not being authentic, there's something intuitive in all of us that we can tell. We can tell that they're either being fake or they're being phony, and it's off-putting. A normal human reaction is to not trust that person and to not feel like we're really able to connect with them. This is why authenticity at work is so important. But how can you be authentic, and what does that actually look like in the workplace? That's what we're going to discuss in today's video. Authenticity also gets you measurable business results, believe it or not. First, what authenticity is not. It's not oversharing, it's not telling people your life story, and it's not speaking in an unfiltered and what can be sometimes hurtful ways. It's connecting with people at a deeper level without sacrificing your boundaries. The organizational cultures that foster the most authenticity are those in which there is psychological safety. Psychological safety is about knowing that you can express yourself without fear of retribution. And that means that there has to be a level of acceptance within the organization, that diversity and inclusion is valued and prioritized. Authenticity is also good for brand perception. Customers appreciate authentic communications from their brands. In fact, 88% of consumers say that having an authentic brand voice is a helping deciding factor in the brands that they support. A culture that embraces authenticity is one that gets results. In order to achieve those results, you need to connect with the purpose that I personally connect, which is to unleash the power of culture to inspire businesses and people to reach their full potential. If that's a purpose that speaks to you, then go ahead and subscribe to this channel to join a community of people who are passionate about culture. So how exactly does authenticity help business? Well, according to BetterUp, having a culture that embraces authenticity and inclusivity in leadership reports 140% higher employee engagement. It can also increase team performance by 50%, increase team innovation by 90%, and lower turnover by 54%. It makes sense, right? If you feel like you can be your whole self at work, you're more likely to stay. I have been in both situations. I've been in the companies where I can't reveal my true self. I have to hide who I am and I have to act the part. And I've been in companies where I can show up as my true self, including all of my wackiness and all of my controversial opinions. I had the psychological safety in that second place to be authentically me. And I didn't have to talk about all my childhood trauma to get there. It just meant that I felt comfortable sharing diverse opinions and having non-traditional interactions sometimes. I got to be really me. And in that workplace, I felt so much more fulfilled. I felt like I belonged. And I was less distracted with having to put on my professional attitude, and I was able to just get the work done, and I enjoyed it more. So how can you foster a culture of authenticity? Well, first, let's remember what culture really is. It is the experiences that we have which shape our beliefs. Those beliefs lead to the actions we take, and those actions get us results. So if that's culture, you want to create experiences that will lead to the cultural belief that authenticity is not only embraced, but encouraged. And how can you do that? Well, one is to model authentic leadership yourself. Leaders should show up as their authentic selves and praise those who do the same. Then stories will be told and recognition will be given, and people will know that authenticity is something that the organization values. That will lead to a belief that it is safe for them to show up authentically. And that's going to get you action, which is a bunch of people showing up as themselves at work. The second thing you can do is to be self-aware. We all have biases. That culture model that I shared with you, it's not only relevant at work, it's relevant for all of us. It's the way that we develop, it's the way that we are at a personal level. We've all had experiences, some in our childhood, some in adulthood. Those experiences have shaped the beliefs that we have about the world. And those beliefs will determine the actions that we have. So some people will be more comfortable being authentic than others. Some people have had the experience that when they are authentic, they are shunned. There are plenty of biases in this world, and people, particularly in marginalized groups, sometimes get the brunt of those biases, which means that they have to conform to the norms of society. And that conforming is actually not good for business. It deters innovation and it decreases morale. So we want to be particularly aware of people who might not have had the space to be authentic out there and nurture that environment in the workplace. Being aware of your own biases and how you might be preventing people from being authentic is one key place to start. And the third way, and maybe the most important way, is to remember that we cannot separate people from business results. You know those people who say, it's not personal, it's business. Well, I've never understood that because we are people doing business. And so we have to remember that behind every financial target and behind every job role is a person who's having an experience. And sometimes we need to make room for priorities beyond work. That allows people the psychological safety to share when they're burnt out, when they're unable to meet a deadline, and create a solution towards doing that. Otherwise, what you have is quiet quitting. People who phone it in, who do the absolute bare minimum because they're not really bought into the organization's purpose or its strategy, or its people. So if you want more information on how you can create a culture that encourages authenticity at work, then I have a free gift for you. Our ebook on creating intentional workplace cultures that get you results not only share specific how-tos and guides for you, but it also shares the research behind what we're sharing. This isn't just a good idea or our opinion. We have data that proves that this works. And so download the ebook. You can either click on the link in the description below, or you can go to gift.culture.io and get your free resources.